what the haters talking about.
The family of a Michigan man deported to Mexico says that they will fight to get him back to the U.S. They blame a legal blunder for his removal. Immigration officials forced Jorge Garcia to return to Mexico this week. Garcia lived in the U.S. for around 30 years. He has an American wife and 2 children. Anna Werner is just back from Michigan, where she spoke with the family. And a lot of people talking about this story. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Gail. The Garcia family had been back and forth with immigration officials since the Obama administration. So although their concerns over deportation didn't start with the Trump presidency, the new administration's change in its approach to enforcement means those fears have now become reality.
After 15 years of marriage, Cindy Garcia had to say goodbye to her husband. Her children had to part from their father.
It was devastating. We did not want to let him go. We said our goodbyes. We told him we love you, we're going to miss you, but you don't want to let somebody go that you love. It's very hard.
Garcia has lived in the U.S. for some 30 years, since a relative brought him here from Mexico at the age of 10. He and Cindy married in 2002 and began trying to get him on the path to citizenship through proper legal channels. But she says their first lawyer didn't follow the right immigration procedures. Diego Bonasotti is with Michigan United Legal Services.
Jorge was exposed to ICE because of this application that should not have been filed.
Garcia was ordered removed, but during the Obama administration, ICE granted stays several times while the couple worked to resolve his residency issues. Then President Trump came into office. Suddenly, Garcia was told he had to go. ICE told CBS News in a statement that the agency exercised prosecutorial discretion on multiple prior occasions in Garcia's case, but that anyone violating immigration laws may be subject to immigration arrest, detention, and removal from the United States.
I understand that the president wants to protect our borders, but at the same time, if my husband was brought here as a child, he has no criminal record. Each individual case needs to be looked at because we tried to do the right thing. It's not like we didn't. We tried.
So what do you say to people out there who say, well, you know what? He came to this country illegally, so tough luck.
What I like to tell them is he came at 10 years old. So somebody brought him into the country. So there was nothing possibly that he could have done. There will be no ICE coming to the door to try to deport me because I am a U.S. citizen. There's nothing ICE can do to shut me up.
Well, the Garcia family expects to be apart from Jorge for at least 18 months until they hope to get him an appointment with a U.S. consulate in Mexico. But delays in these cases often go on for years, and it's anyone's guess, actually, whether he will ever be allowed to return even to the U.S. and live legally in the U.S.
I hope it doesn't end that way. I also hope that people looking at your story will now want to, people in very important positions who can make changes and do something to help him. Because his wife said he didn't do anything wrong. They did all the right things while he was in this country.
And one of the things she wanted to say was she's speaking out for the people who can't speak out
right.
because she's a citizen.
Thanks.
A mother of 4 living in Ohio was deported to Mexico after a traffic stop revealed she had been in the country illegally for close to 20 years. Beatriz Morelos Casillas was arrested for driving without a license near Cleveland, Ohio on July 23rd. She was deported to Nuevo Laredo yesterday. It's considered one of the most dangerous places in Mexico. Tony DeCopel is here with how her family in America is responding. Tony, good morning.
Good morning. The State Department issued a travel warning for Nuevo Laredo in December 2016 due to violent crime. Beatrice's husband, who is here legally on a work visa, drove from Ohio to be with her and make sure she's safe. Her relatives in Ohio, meanwhile, called her deportation unfair, and they worry about the uncertain future ahead for Beatrice and her family.
She's scared. I believe she's more scared for her children than for her right now.
Christian Enrique Gutierrez Morelos and his wife Sonia are aching over the quick deportation of their aunt Beatrice. Beatrice was heading home from work when she was pulled over and arrested. Within 10 days, she was in Mexico.
What happened to Beatrice were the direct result of the new administration and the policies that have been given to ICE.
Elizabeth Ford is an immigration attorney working on Beatrice's behalf.
People with no criminal history are being told they have to leave the country in a very short amount of time when they've built an entire life here with children and houses and families and jobs.
ICE prioritizes our arrests based on criminal threats, national security, those who violate immigration laws.
Acting ICE Director Thomas Homan has emphasized the Trump administration's policy of cracking down on anyone in the United States illegally. Last week in an off-camera briefing, Homan took a hard line on undocumented immigrants with children born here in the U.S.
When someone chooses to enter this country illegally and they're here illegally and they choose to have a child that's a U.S. citizen, they put themselves in that position. Not the U.S. government, not the ICE officers. So again, we're forcing the law.
The number of arrests of immigrants suspected of being in the U.S. illegally has risen in the first few months of the Trump presidency compared to the same time frame last year. But the number of deportations has gone down by 12% during that period. Homan attributes that in part to a backlog in the U.S. immigration courts that issued deportation orders. But Ford believes the administration is targeting undocumented immigrants with prior deportations because their previous removal order bars them from even going before an immigration court judge.
It's an easy way to get high numbers of deportations. They can go directly from ICE custody to the deportation plane.
People should be able to touch their hearts and be like, this is the right thing to do. She's a mother for 4 children.
And right now, the family is focused on getting Beatrice out of Nuevo Laredo. Last week, a man who was also deported from her town of Paynesville to Nuevo Laredo was reportedly kidnapped and held for ransom. He was returned after his girlfriend paid nearly $4,000 to a Mexican crime cartel.
Is there anything her kids can do because they have legal status here to file to help their mom out?
The oldest child is 12, the youngest is 4. So other than emotional support, there's a limited amount so far that they can do.
President Obama deported large numbers of illegal immigrants out of the United States. Why has the number gone down?
The numbers are down because there's a major backlog. Arrests are up, but those cases take time to process. And so there are now 600,000 people waiting for a final order or a decision on their case. President Trump on Friday called for an increase in the number of judges so he can move through that backlog more quickly.
And Obama, I think, the president said he did it for some reason, having to want to influence legislation or something like that.
Yeah, he's looking for more money for both border agents, ICE agents in the country to round people up, and judges.
Thanks, Tony.
Tony, thank you.